This
Just
isn't
take a deep
right.
breath and listen
You're
to me for a
supposed to
moment.
be with me.
I'm trying to warn you. How?
When Ugoe said otherwise, what did you do? Nothing.
Who actually had the most justified crash out in DreamWorks history, and who was just being absurdly petty? Some built their meltdowns over decades of bitterness, while others snapped the exact second they heard the word no. Today, we're ranking the most insane villain crash outs in DreamWorks. Lord Farquaad, Shrek.
Guards! I order you to get them out of my sight! Now! Get them! Get them both!
And finally, the one that started it all for me. Farquaad's meltdown isn't really a single scene, it's more like a permanent setting he's stuck on. His whole personality is basically scaffolding, built around one insecurity, and he's decided the only response is to overcompensate in every direction. All the time, forever. None of it's subtle either. Wants a perfect kingdom, exiles every fairy tale creature that doesn't fit his idea of normal. Wants a perfect wife, runs a tournament like he's picking out furniture, wants to look powerful, builds a castle so oversized it practically announces the thing he's compensating for. Every decision is another layer of armor over the same soft spot, and he never once lets it actually heal. If I had to name his biggest crash out, I'd say it's not a moment at all. It's the entire arc.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice.
Insecurity rebranded as ambition, an entire kingdom bent around one guy who couldn't be fine with who he is. Everyone else on this list snaps once. Farquaad's been mid-meltdown the whole time. Grimmel, How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. Grimmel's whole identity is wrapped up in one label. Greatest dragon hunter alive. Not one of the best. The greatest, no arguments allowed. So when a literal night fury, the last of his kind, keeps outsmarting and surviving him, it's not a bad day at work for Grimmel. It's basically an identity crisis with a crossbow. What gets me about him is how he refuses to adjust. He's clearly, repeatedly beaten, and instead of stepping back or reconsidering anything, he keeps pushing harder, keeps insisting the next attempt will finally be the one. His self-worth is tied so tightly to being undefeated that losing isn't annoying to him. It's unthinkable, so every failure gets waved off as a fluke rather than the pattern it obviously is. By the end, he's clearly beaten and still won't back down. I think he'd rather go out fighting than admit his whole reputation as the ultimate hunter was never as solid as he needed it to be. That's pride running itself straight off a cliff. Professor Marmalade, the bad guys.
We love you, Professor Marmalade!
I actually didn't see this one coming the first time I watched it, which is kind of the whole point. Marmalade spends the entire movie playing the reformed good guy, the philanthropist, the one everybody's cheering for. But behind that cozy sweater, he isn't just seeking applause, he's pulling off a massive heist using a meteorite to mind control an entire army of guinea pigs into robbing millions in charity donations. Being admired is what keeps this guy running, but the moment someone else might get credit, might steal the spotlight, or look better in front of a crowd, the nice guy mask disappears instantly. He frames actual reformed criminals for his own crimes without blinking, because to him, his image and control are worth more than someone else's freedom. His real breaking point, in my eyes, is that instant switch from beloved public figure to full supervillain the second his plan gets threatened. It's not just anger, it's pure vanity, finally showing what it actually is. Rumpelstiltskin, Shrek Forever After.
Wolfie, my angry wig.
Gotta hand it to this guy for ambition. Most people on this list have a bad moment or a bad decade, but Rumpel erased an entire timeline to take power. By tricking Shrek into signing away the day he was born, Rumpel ensured Fiona was never rescued, taking over far, far away in a complete alternate reality. Most people block an X on social media. Rumpel deleted reality and made a whole new save file. But here's what I find genuinely satisfying. His whole kingdom is built on a loophole, one single day that was never supposed to exist. So the moment Shrek starts undoing deals and fixing the timeline, you can watch this little guy's confidence crumble piece by piece. Every tiny setback rattles him because deep down, his empire was never actually stable. It was one string away from collapsing the entire time. For me, his biggest moment of falling apart is realizing mid-collapse that he built an entire world on a contract that was never really his to keep. All that scheming undone by the exact deal that made it possible in the first place. Big Jack Horner, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
You know, I never had much as a kid. Just loving parents, and stability in a mansion.
Honestly, Horner might be the pettiest one on this whole list. No tragic backstory. A rich guy who decided he deserves all the magic in the world simply because he wants it. This man looked at unlimited wealth and basically said, cool, but what if I also own the universe?
All of the magic in the world. For me, is that so much? Yes! Agree to disagree.
I deserve this is basically tattooed on his personality, and he says it with the confidence of a man who's never once heard the word no. What separates him from everyone else is that his crash out isn't one moment. It's a whole pattern stretched across the movie. Every chance he gets to take a win and walk away, he throws it out because good enough was never gonna cut it for a guy like him. He could have had money, power, basically anything short of infinite wishes, and it wouldn't have mattered because the goalposts were always going to keep moving on him. His real downfall isn't a scene, it's a mindset, greed running on autopilot, torching every good outcome in favor of a better one that was never actually there. By the time he's holding that wishing star, he's already lost everything else worth having and he doesn't even notice. Drago Bludvist, How to Train Your Dragon 2. This one's tricky because his backstory actually got me for a second. Dragons wrecked his village, killed people close to him, and left him scarred for life. Genuinely awful stuff, and for a minute I was like, okay, maybe this guy has a point. Then I watched what he actually did with all that pain, and any sympathy I had disappeared. Instead of processing any of it, he decides the answer is total control. Enslave every dragon on the planet, rule through fear, and build an army out of trauma. He took real grief and turned it into a justification for becoming worse than the thing that hurt him, which honestly might be the saddest arc on this whole list. And the part I love, if I'm being honest, is that his need for control is exactly what destroys him. His own bewildered beast turns on him the second it's challenged, because none of what he built was loyalty. It was fear with a shelf life. Watching the guy who needed control over everything lose control of the one thing keeping his empire together, that's karma doing its job. Tai Lung, Kung Fu Panda.
Shifu taught you well.
But he didn't teach you everything.
I have to give Tai Lung some respect here because at least his meltdown was earned through actual effort. 20 years, 2 decades of training under Shifu and Oogway, mastering every move in the valley, doing everything by the book because he believed he was owed the title of Dragon Warrior. That's a fuse he spent his whole life building. Then Oogway looks at him and senses the darkness in his heart, refusing to give him the Dragon Scroll altogether. 20 years of discipline evaporates in 1 second. You'd think a guy with that much patience would have something left in the tank emotionally. But nope, turns out all that patience was entitlement wearing workout clothes. And the second he's denied the scroll, he snaps and lays waste to the valley. For me, his real crash out is that instant flip from I earned this to I will burn this valley down looking for what I was owed. 20 years of build-up, gone in seconds. Fairy Godmother, Shrek 2.
I toss and I turn and I dream of what I need.
Can we talk about how put together she seemed before everything fell apart? Musical numbers, a whole potion empire, that smug little glow she's got going the entire movie. She's basically running a high-end corporate empire, which is exactly why watching her fall apart is so satisfying to me. Her whole plan relies on Fiona picking Prince Charming so she can solidify her power over the kingdom. So when Shrek and Fiona stay together anyway, ogre and all, you can actually watch her polish come off in real time. No more songs, no more charm. just a woman who has clearly never once been told no in her professional life, finding out what that feels like. And then in the climax, she completely goes off, full magical rage, flinging spells at anyone in her path. It exposes how thin the sweet fairy godmother act always was. The second her business model gets threatened, she's basically throwing a high-stakes tantrum with a wand, proving behind all that magic was someone who couldn't handle losing. Lord Shen,
Kung Fu Panda.
2.
Oh, do you actually believe this is the warrior destined to defeat me? I do not.
This one hits different because it's not fast at all. It's slow and honestly kind of sad if you think about it too long. A fortune teller tells baby Shen that a warrior of black and white is gonna beat him someday. And as he grows up and lets it go, he decides the mature response is wiping out an entire species of pandas as a preemptive strike against babies. What really gets me thinking is how much time he had to reconsider. His own parents banished him over this. That's years, maybe decades, sitting alone with what he did, and he doubled down harder. Built an army, manufactured cannons, and dedicated his whole life to making sure the exact thing he feared came true. At the end, everyone's begging him to stop, even his own soldiers, but he still won't. His obsession with dodging the prophecy is really what drags him straight into it, dying while clinging to a grudge against someone who was a baby when this all started. Titan, Megamind. I gotta end here because honestly nothing else even comes close. Hal doesn't choose to be a villain at first. He gets accidentally injected with Metro Man's powers by Megamind. But the second Hal gets rejected by Roxanne, he decides the next logical step is to turn those powers into a tool for mass destruction. He skipped every normal breakup stage and went straight from "she doesn't like me" to "I am going to flatten Metro City." And what gets me is how small the actual trigger was. She wasn't cruel, she just wasn't into him. But somewhere between "she said no" and "I will now destroy everything," Hal skipped 40 steps of normal human processing. He had godlike powers, every chance to be a decent guy, and he chose the nuclear option instead. That's the whole podium right there. 1 rejection, 0 cooldown period, straight into supervillain mode. No other character on this list pulls the trigger that fast, and that's exactly why he takes the top spot. And that's a complete lineup of DreamWorks villains who went completely off the rails. Whether it took decades of built-up resentment or just a single afternoon of getting rejected, every single one of them chose total chaos over taking a breath. Which villain do you think had the most understandable crash out, and who was just being straight up petty? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe for more character breakdowns, and check out the next video on your screen.